Devil May Cry 2 takes place after Devil May Cry 1 and is more or less the black sheep of the series. It's the only game in the series that is almost universally recommended that a new player skip, and I really don't like that sentiment. I think there's a lot of good things in this game that you could argue make it better than the first one, and I gotta be honest, even if the gameplay is a lot worse than Part 1, this game's a whole lot cooler than Part 1 too. The development of Devil May Cry 2 is a bit of an enigma though. Allegedly, Hideaki Kamiya, director of the first Devil May Cry game, found out that Devil May Cry 2 was already in production during the translation of the first game into English. Not much is known about this original version of Devil May Cry 2, but it might have been a competitor to Tomb Raider with heavy emphasis on Matrix-style acrobatic shooting. This also explains the new character Lucia, who's able to play in all the non-filler missions that Dante does. It's almost as if the game was designed to star her and Dante was shoehorned in later. About half a year before release, a new lead, Hideaki Itsuno, would be placed in charge of Devil May Cry 2 to try and salvage the game. He would remain lead director or lead advisor on every future game in the series. Because of that, this game will introduce a lot of series staples that will show up in just about every game afterward, like Dante's signature sword Rebellion, Bloody Palace, which is an optional challenge mode, and Dante meeting a new girl in every game, and changing personalities too. But to be fair, this might be Dante at his coolest. He is all about the action in this game, and he's not even trying to tell jokes. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have cool shit to say.
Don't speak, just die.
It's pretty unfortunate though that Devil May Cry 2 has even less story than the first one did, especially since Dante is so much cooler now. I think between 2 discs, this game has about 25 minutes of cutscenes. In a nutshell, Lucia calls Dante to help her and her mother Mathieu overthrow the bad guy of the game, Arius. Now what Arius wants to do is take the power of Mundus from the last game and use it to become like a demon king. Mundus is essentially the Devil May Cry version of the devil. You know, he's the biggest, baddest demon, that type of character. He's also some like Illuminati type billionaire. So if you've played Tekken, he's very similar to Heihachi, but he doesn't know karate. Now Arius needs these magical MacGuffins called the Arcanas to try and open up a Hellgate on Earth, and that's how he plans on taking Mundus's power. So Dante and Lucia travel across the globe in every ancient tomb they can to try and get the Arcanas before Arius does, which honestly is kind of Tomb Raider-esque. Now I have to talk about Dante's coin. I don't know why this was never brought back in any game in the series, but what appears as a plot device actually reveals so much about Dante's character and his role as the hero, not only in this game but throughout the entire series. Multiple times throughout the story, Dante is asked to put himself in danger for the benefit of other people, and he leaves this decision up to the coin. If it's heads, he steps up and saves the day. If it's tails, he might show that he doesn't really care about the problem at hand, or the reward Mathieu offers. Even at the end of the game, he decides to solo ride into hell all by himself to try and close it against an army of every demon possible, just because his coin seemed to land on heads. This is the literal definition of the phrase devil may care, but at the end it's revealed that Dante's coin was actually double-sided. Both sides were heads all along because Dante did care. He always intended to save the day.
That macho.
And I think that speaks volumes about his actual character. He isn't devil may care, he's a devil that does care. And that's going to remain the core of his character in the next game, in the reboot, in part 5. The storytelling in this game, even though it's shorter than the last one, really is that much better. And that doesn't even bring up Lucia, who essentially is Trish again. She's a demon created by another demon to be evil, basically. In fact, she has like sister clones running around that I think are actually pretty cool. Alright, now you might be asking, well, if Dante and the story are so cool, why does everybody say skip this game? Why is this the black sheep of the series?
It's boring. Aburrido if you speak Spanish.
The gameplay sucks. Okay, that's not true. That's kind of hyperbolic. But you can definitely tell that this game was not designed around Dante. All of the guns in this game are way too strong. It's very much like a Tomb Raider game. take my word for it, or go ahead and try it yourself. You can beat the entire game very easily with the level 1 pistols. You don't ever need to upgrade them at all to beat the game on normal. You can tell the game wasn't really designed for Dante because every one of his sword swings, no matter if it's the heavy sword or the light sword, constantly sends enemies flying back far away, meaning the player can never really juggle them in the same way you can in the first game, or all of the other games after. And this juggling problem is actually kind of created by Capcom trying to correct a common critique of the first game, that being the fixed camera angles. In Devil May Cry 2, almost every area is open very wide, so can usually see Dante or Lucia and most of, if not all, the demons on screen at once. But because of these same wide open areas and Dante's incredible strength in this physics engine, for some reason sends every enemy so far away from him after every little 3-hit combo. It can be very frustrating, to be honest. And having said that, it's not like all the camera angles are fixed. There's some really bad spots in this game. Some people might argue are worse than the first game, but what's great about this game, and is kind of a giant upgrade from the first that no one ever talks about, is the fact that you can completely customize your devil trigger. You switch out different parts of Dante's amulet with different gems in order to use different abilities. And it's pretty cool. And it never came back ever in any other Devil May Cry game. And I can't even think of a good reason why. But I'm not kidding, one of the customizable parts of your devil trigger will allow Dante and Lucia to fly, which really eliminates so much of the frustration every player has to go through all of these stupid platforming sections. And yes, there are even more terrible platforming sections in this game. It's not all bad though. Dante and Lucia have alternative costumes that look pretty cool, relatively speaking. The game has a crossover with Diesel jeans, and while I'm not the biggest fan of Diesel as a clothing brand, I love casual alternative outfits for characters in video games. It's mostly a fighting game thing, but I love it in any game that it's in. Sure, Dante kind of loses me a little bit with the scarf, but every other piece of this outfit is fresh as fuck. Even Lucia gets 2 outfits. Also, before I forget, beating the game on hard mode as Dante will unlock Trish as an alternative player, and she gets Morpheus style sunglasses when she's in Devil Trigger. Although, to be honest, I'm pretty sure this is just Trish's character model from the first game placed on Dante's skeleton in the second game. This is mostly because she doesn't seem to have her own flipping or dodge roll animation. Oh, the dodge roll! I can't believe I almost spent 8 minutes talking and I didn't even bring up the fucking dodge roll. This is the most fun thing about this game. I love wall running. I love back handsprings. I love doing flips. This is another huge component about why this version of Dante is so much cooler than the last one. Doing stuff like this is genuinely more fun than the combat in this game. Now, I understand that I'm going to get some flack for not mentioning how easy some of the bosses are in this game because I gave so much shit to Nightmare in the last game for its bad boss design. Don't get me wrong, this game has some really bad boss design. One of them is literally just a helicopter with an eyeball on it. And I'm not kidding, they literally reused Phantom's character model from the last game as 2 different bosses in this game. And even though you literally can beat the last boss by just shooting the level 1 Ebony and Ivory at it, there is one Devil May Cry game that's even easier than this. But we'll get to that in a couple of videos. In the meantime, give this game a try and tell me what you think, because even though it's not the best game in the series, it is the shortest.
I was going to be the king of this world.
King? Yeah. Here's your crown.